Welcome to the Environment Community Services Committee for the October meeting. Firstly, I'll put my apologies in for the pre-meeting. I misread the time again, but I am very well aware of the position that we're talking about in the first application. The meeting will be audio recorded, and those in attendance should refrain from making any defamatory statements. There's to be no other recordings of this meeting without the prior authorisation of the committee. I'd like to show respect and acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land, of elders past, present and future on which this meeting takes place. Any applications for attending meeting via video link?
No, has been nil received, Madam Chair.
Any apologies?
The only apology is the standing apology from Councillor Flaherty, who's on leave.
Which we don't need to move.
No.
Note.
And just note that Mr. Pringle is absent for this meeting, but Mr. Clarkson's stepped into the acting director's role.
Okay, thank you. Any disclosures of interest?
Has been nil received.
Okay, we have public participation for ECSC 10.1 development application number 160-2020 dwelling house and strata subdivision, and we have Jackie Osman that will be speaking on that application. Jackie, would you like to come up here? You have 5 minutes and I'll give you a notification at 4. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you for for addressing the council and taking your time. Look, I have and always will continue to be very much pro-development, but proper pro-development. And I just noticed on page 4 that there are, I think, 9 concerns here regarding this, and some of it's a setback, etc., etc. And I'm just asking, could perhaps Paul, seeing it, Matt, or someone may address those issues. Have
Well,
those
can we just
issues
have
been addressed?
questions for the speaker at the moment, and then we can go to
Well,
the other ones? Do you have
okay,
any?
but do you feel that those particular concerns that have been listed and which would have been given to you have been correctly addressed?
I think the question is whether you agree or you don't, not really whether to go into it again, because you're actually giving another reply to what was in that 5 minutes. So do you agree with what was given back in context from page 7, or was it page 4 or 4? Page 4?
Page 4. Can you just read to me?
Can someone give a copy over, please? There's quite a list of them. So it's just probably a yes or no, I suppose.
I believe you addressed these issues. I mean, the pergola, I haven't seen the latest plans, but I don't know whether they have been put in or not. I don't think the details of the existing dwelling is not part of this proposal. The proposal is for a new lot. And, you know, the existing dwelling has been used as a dwelling for what is. It happens a lot of places around the state, but the driveway length has to be moved. Well, there was some talk about moving the house back one more.
Okay, I think that's fine. Thank you. You happy with that, Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, look, I think these matters can be discussed in council. So thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Any further questions? No, thank you. We'll move on to the business items. The first one is ECSC 10.1, the development application, the dwelling house and strata. Do we have and the recommendation is that council refuse development application number for dwelling house and strata at 99 Liverpool Street, Scone, for the reasons given in attachment 1. Has everyone read that report? Do we have a mover for that? Councillor McPhee, seconder.
Yes. Can I move an amendment to that? How can I do that?
Yes.
I just believe that we should be looking at the option where that we defer this until these matters that I brought up in page 4 have been satisfactorily addressed. I don't want to see the development stop, but can I move a motion?
You can push it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Defer it until these
Okay.
matters are addressed.
Okay, so we've got a mover. I'll second. So we've got any discussion, further discussion? Yes, councillor McVeigh.
So just in regards to some of the comments, we have to also remember that legislation changes regularly, and we actually have to judge this DA based on the current and the new and the current legislation, which is a lot tighter on parking and also landscaping and ratios. The strata, the thing we have to be mindful of is that it's strata, which means that it can actually be sold as 2 lots, and it needs to be viewed independently. So we need to make sure that the parking, I think you said it was 5 car parks, was it for the current dwelling? Yeah, I think what Jackie said, having the idea of mirroring it, those kind of things, I think there's a really good solution we can come to, but in the current state, we can't approve it. So I'd love to see this happen. I'd love to see it go ahead, but we have to also make sure that we're following the current legislation, which currently isn't being followed, or it's not really in alignment. So that's the reasons why I'm refusing. It's not because I don't want it to happen. It's just that we can't under the current circumstances. But I'd really love for us to be able to work forward and actually have something developed there in the future.
Councillor Campbell, did you have any further questions?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I said earlier that I don't want to see this stop. I just want to see these matters addressed. One of the concerns that I do have really is the setback. We can continue to say, well, there's houses along there that are out in the same distance. But look, where do we draw the line? I think we've just got to be very careful about this. Otherwise, we end up with developments that set a precedent. Yes, we know that the RSL was used. Look, that's been there for a very long time. Look, I would, the setback probably concerns me a little bit. There's been a lot about the parking. I think that can be addressed, but the setback from that front, I think, needs to be looked at again. So I'm very happy to see it deferred. I don't want to see it stopped. I think that there is an answer that can be done and work this out. And so let's see some more housing in Scone. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll just make a comment, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for your presentation. I think it was great. It was only this week the GM and I met with ministers, staff, read these issues. And it's so important that we try and help this get along the line. And I'm very confident between staff and the applicants, we can sit down, or you can sit down and come up with a change of plan or whatever to make this happen. It's a beautiful block. And yeah, I just hope you can sit down and make it happen.
Okay, we've got a mover and a seconder. All in favour?
My original one.
No, you never got a seconder.
No.
Yeah, Alison did get a seconder. I seconded.
No, you seconded Ron's.
I foreshadowed his.
Okay,
So I had seconded Alison, sorry.
I think it was recorded as you seconding Ron.
I
So
foreshadowed
okay.
his motion.
So from a technicality, you're voting on Alison's first.
Mm.
Okay, righto.
Apologies.
Which is?
The original motion. I'll just speak on the motion before we move forward, since I've not, yeah. And the reason why I second it is so that we could have the conversation to see whether we could move forward. So that doesn't mean that or it's going to go ahead. Okay, it's so that we could have that conversation even though you stood up. So that's my apology for, but I seconded Alison's motion.
Madam Chair, I just get concerned that the word refusal in there, if that was deferred, I'd be very happy. I agree, and I think we all agree that we want to see developments go on in Scone, but I just don't want to see it refuse. That means they've got to stay. If we refuse this, haven't we got to? They've got to come back and start all again. Is that right?
That's correct. If
Whereas
council
if-
refuses
if-
it, they have to resubmit a new DA and commence from the start.
Which is more of a cost than, but if we defer this, then they would be able to address it on this particular same. Yeah, which I really would like to see, actually, that they don't have to go to another cost of a DA, but they address these issues that we've concerned, because we agree on the fact that it needs to happen, but it needs to be addressed. So in other words, my motion will not prevail. Is that right?
The current status at the moment, councillor, is there's a motion on the floor for refusal. That will be voted on. If that is lost, your foreshadowed matter will be considered, but it won't be considered until the first matter is considered.
Through you, Madam Chair, can I finish?
Yes, sure,
Can
councillor.
I just ask Matt and Paul, has there been any discussion so far about this with the applicant? So has it just been, can you just run us through what's happened so far in terms of the conversations and the work that's been done thus far?
Through the chair, there has been some correspondence go backwards and forwards in relation to the issues presented before you. The applicant has chosen to have the DA assessed as the plans stand. So that's how council needs to consider it as presented. There has been some modifications to the plans, but this is the one that we've ended up with, and we have to consider it as it's presented.
There was two pre-DA lodgement meetings where with myself and the owner, and we discussed the design. The Heritage Advisor was also present, and we raised concerns about the current design in that meeting, in those meetings. And then since the DA was lodged, there's been a discussion with the planner who was organising it to try and change it, and then a number of bits of written correspondence go to them to raise concerns.
So just for clarity, there has been conversation about the concerns and you don't believe they've been addressed yet?
Willing to make changes as recommended.
Can I just get clarity, even though you spoke last? So you're saying if it was deferred, there's not going to be any other further changes anyway? This is the application they've put forward and that's it.
Through the chair, I mean, that is certainly a possibility. But these conversations have happened, and this is the plan that they've put to council for a decision.
Madam Chair, Mr. GM, do I get a vote on this?
Mr. Mayor, as a mayor, you're entitled to vote on all committees.
Mr. GM, if that means it's a tied vote, does the mayor override?
No, as chair, you still have casting vote, I believe, Madam Chair. Councillors, even though I guess the indication has been that the applicant has been unwilling to date, we have heard from the applicant this morning that there are some changes they are willing to make. So I think that that latest information, I guess, is to be considered, as there is some willingness there for them to look at some of the issues at least.
Okay, so on that note, the recommendation is, as in the paper, the council refused development application. We had a mover and a seconder, so we're voting on it now.
Can I just have some clarification? So if we do the foreshadow and it's deferred, what does that mean for our staff then? So it just means that there's another conversation, another meeting, and that means that the developers then have to, I mean, I just feel that the only way we're going to get traction is if I think people are willing to work together. And if we're coming up with a brick wall and the recommendations have been made and nothing has changed, are we going to actually get some kind of clarification from the applicant that there will be a willingness to work with council on this?
We can't give you that clarification from a staff point of view. I guess
But
we
that
can
would be
bring this
hope.
back to you in a month's time.
Mhm.
In the November council meeting, we can advise as to where things are at. And you can make a decision about whether the applicant's been willing to make amendments or not at that stage.
Just,
Okay.
Madam Chair, Christian, a quick comment, Mr. GM. This will go to the council meeting and the council, all of council, will have the decision to overturn this recommendation. Just to clear that up. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if this, it does go to the full council. I am just mindful of the cost, etc. of doing it. If they are willing, I believe that that was the reason for my amendment, was the fact that between now and our next council meeting, they have the applicant has the opportunity of addressing these issues, and then if they refuse to comply after discussion, this can come up and refuse. I just am concerned that if we refuse it or recommend it to be refused, that sort of tends to let it die. But I do understand that full council will have the issue on that, but I don't want to kill this off.
Okay, let's have a show of hands for the recommendation. Who is for? It is as in the paper. Against? Okay,
So the refusal's lost. Now you need to put Ron's.
Yep. so we're going to put yours up.
Yes,
Which
thank you.
was?
That's right.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that we defer the application until discussions have been made, and then bring it back to council for ratification.
Okay, right.
I'm sure that someone can word that much better than I, but that's the intent.
So a show of hands again. So who supports that recommendation? Against? Carry.
It'll probably come back to the November
The November council.
committee meeting actually first.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Sorry, you will see it in the October papers as a deferral.
Yeah.
But I'd give council staff at least a month to report back to this committee meeting. Thank you.
No problem, thank you. Page 53. Have development application for a modification for a DA. The recommendation is that council modify the development consent in respect of development application number 154-2022 for demolition and construction of a new emergency service facility at lot 1, section 3, 70 Bettington Street, Merrywall, subject to conditions of consent in attachment 1. Do we have a mover? We have councillor Campbell. Seconder, councillor McPhee. Any questions, comments? Yes, councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Look, this has been something that I believe has been badly needed in Merrywall. I did notice the fence has gone up, and it's so it'll be really good if this can happen. It'll also be so assist not only Merrywall but the whole area, because of the central location of Merrywall in relation to floods and fires that have been prevalent in our area. So I'm very happy to support this, and thank you for the resolution.
Thank you, councillor Campbell. Any
Madam
further-
Chair, just a comment, please.
Yes,
Just to
Mr.
clear
Mayor?
this up, staff, so we're going to waive the $13,253, that's correct?
Through the chair, yes.
So just a comment, this was grant fund, I'm all on for it, don't worry about it, all on for building the shed. But I think we need to be very careful on these applications that come in for grant funding, that the applicants put these fees in their grant funding. So we waived that, it's a fee that council is waiving. So I think it's important that when they put these into the state and federal government, that these fees be added into the cost.
Yeah, just through you, Madam Chair, the Mayor's correct. In effect, you're waiving these fees, which means there's less funds in the developer contribution fund for doing works in and around Merrywall. in regard to the development that occurs in that area. So in part, it is another cost shifting exercise by the state government, because these funds are given to the applicant to construct these things, but then they seek further deferrals from council or waivers in regard to fees. So council ends up paying.
Yeah, Madam Chair, look, I'm aware of that, and I quite agree with the mayor's comments, but I also do believe that should be made known to the people, especially that what council has been doing for that area. And I think that that's something that should be noted, and we should just tell people, this is council, there's so much criticism goes on. Well, what's council doing here? We could have refused that and stopped that building. The building definitely needs replacing. It's in a bad state, and we just need. But these the things that council is doing for Merriwood and for the whole Shire, but especially out in that western area. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Campbell. Any further comment? All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. That concludes our October meeting. See you in November.